Slide number 1. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present this research titled Halal Certification of Cultivated Meat in Singapore, a Halal Governance and Regulatory Readiness Assessment or HGRRA framework. This study sits at the intersection of Islamic jurisprudence, food biotechnology, and regulatory governance, and examines how a Muslim minority jurisdiction like Singapore is preparing to certify a novel food product as halal. Slide number 2. Cultivated meat is produced by growing animal cells in bioreactors rather than raising and slaughtering animals. For Muslim consumers, this raises real theological questions. Classical dietary law requires lawful slaughter, so scholars must apply concepts like purity, substantive transformation, and dilution to decide whether this new product is permissible. Singapore is a unique case study. It was the first country to approve cultivated meat for sale, and in 2024, MUIS issued the first dedicated halal fatwa on it. This creates a dual regulator landscape. MUIS handles religious certification, while the Singapore Food Agency handles food safety. This study asks how well that system works. Slide number 3. Despite growing global discussion, the literature is fragmented. Science studies focus on feasibility, Islamic legal scholarship focuses on permissibility, and governance studies focus on conventional halal certification. But no study has systematically assessed institutional readiness for halal biotechnology governance in a Muslim minority context. This study addresses that gap through 3 objectives. First, mapping the statutory and institutional structures, especially MUIS SFA coordination. Second, developing and applying the HGRRA framework itself. And third, formulating policy recommendations grounded in maqāṣid-al-Sharīʿah, the higher objectives of Islamic law. Slide number 4. The HGRRA framework evaluates governance maturity across 6 domains: legal mandate, Sharia framework, technical expertise, infrastructure, stakeholder engagement, and international alignment. Each domain is scored on a 4-tier continuum: ad hoc, emerging, structured, and managed, moving from reactive informal processes through to fully operational, audited, and continuously improved governance. This gives us a common yardstick to compare very different aspects of the system, from statutory law to laboratory capacity, on the same scale. Slide number 5. Methodologically, this is a qualitative, doctrinal, analytical study grounded in usul al-fiqh and document analysis. We reviewed 55 documents published between 2019 and 2026. Statutes, fatwas, halal-assurance manuals, peer-reviewed literature, and technical reports across 5 categories, each mapped to a research objective. Every indicator was scored from 1 to 4 against the 4-tier continuum you see here: ad hoc, emerging, structured, and managed. To manage interpretive bias from the single coder design, 20% of the documents were independently reviewed by subject matter experts, and any discrepancies were discussed until consensus was reached. Slide number 6. Bringing the 6 domains together, the HGRRA places Singapore at Tier 3, structured readiness. Legal mandate and Sharia framework both reach Tier 4, managed, thanks to MUIS clear statutory authority under AMLA Section 88A and the well-reasoned 2024 fatwa. Technical expertise, infrastructure, and stakeholder engagement sit at Tier 3 structure, mainly because of competent auditors, a strong HalMQ system, and the existence of transparent consultation. But there is no dedicated certification scheme for cultivated meat, limited biotechnology training for enforcement officers, and no neutral media framing to address public misconceptions. International alignment is the weakest domain at Tier 2 emerging. Singapore participates actively in global halal forums, but ASEAN and the OIC have yet to develop standards specifically for cultivated meat. Slide number 7. These findings can be read through the lens of maqāṣid-al-Sharīʿah, the higher objectives of Islamic law, which moves the discussion beyond a simple permissible or not judgment. Preservation of religion is served by clear halal standards for new food systems. Preservation of lives connects to food security and lower zoonotic risks tied to technical verification. Preservation of intellect is reflected in the integration of scientific reasoning into religious decision-making, for example, through the fatwa lab. Preservation of wealth favors efficient, non-duplicative regulation, and preservation of the environment links cellular-agriculture's lower land and water footprint to sustainability and international alignment. Together, these objectives position Singapore as a maqāṣid-driven model for other Muslim minority jurisdictions. Slide number 8. Moving from Tier 3 to Tier 4 does not require new initiatives. It requires consolidating existing strengths into enforceable mechanism. The roadmap has 5 priorities: embedding the 2024 fatwa conditions into HalMQ laboratory audit checklist, establishing a dedicated certification scheme for cultivated meat backed by accredited biotechnology laboratories, providing specialized training in biotechnology and Islamic bioethics for enforcement level auditors, institutionalizing multi-stakeholder consultation forums to sustain public trust, and strengthening ASEAN OIC cooperation to harmonize halal biotechnology standards. Together, these close the gap between doctrinal permissibility and day-to-day lab verifiable enforcement. Slide number 9. To conclude, this study shows that Sharia principles can be coherently and credibly applied to a novel food technology, with Singapore reaching Tier 3 structured readiness on the strength of its legal authority, doctrinal clarity, and MUIS SFA coordination. The HGRRA framework itself is the study's main contribution, a maturity-based diagnostic that other halal authorities, particularly in Muslim minority jurisdiction, can adapt for their own readiness assessments. Closing the remaining gaps in biotechnology-specific audit mechanism, laboratory accreditation, auditor training, and regional harmonization offers a clear and achievable path towards Tier 4 managed readiness. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.